So, what's one of the main wish list items that you might have for the PlayStation 5? What are some of the things that you really, really think, hey, if the PlayStation 5 were to have that, I'd get it day one. It'd be an absolute day one buy. You know, I think all of us would have sort of different reasons. For me personally, the fact that Sony is continuing to support VR, and they continue to support like initiatives of AAA exclusives, big AAA exclusives, and things like that. It really kind of makes me keen on what they're going to be doing with the PlayStation 5. Again, we were hearing nothing but great things from developers and stuff like that. But now Sony might have slipped up a little bit and sort of revealed more than they wanted to, thanks to some leaked paperwork and some things like that. So again, I think that this could be something that a lot of people had on their wish list. Will it work exactly the way that people wanted it to or think? That's going to be a tough question to answer, but hey, we're going to try to delve in and just tear down exactly what's going on. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here, Crapgamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you guys for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. It helps out the channel, and it means a lot to me personally. You know, it really does. And the simple, easiest thing that you could do to support my channel is just hit that like button. You know, hit the bell so you're notified of everything as soon as it drops. I definitely do appreciate it. And, you know, if you ever want to just talk video games or whatever, there's multiple ways to do that, and we can kind of cover that later. But, again, what kind of features and things like that do you think are, you know, most important for a console going forward? Obviously, we all have sort of different takes on it. You know, what is it going to take? You know, Microsoft thinks that, you know, people want services and a lot of services and things like that. And maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe to an extent there's some great truth to that. But so far, for what I'm seeing, it doesn't really seem that way in terms of what most hardcore players want. You know, if you look at what Xbox Game Pass is doing, like 10 million is fine. But at the same time, how many of those people are paying monthly, and how many of those people just did the dollar deal or just do, you know what I mean, just jump up and do kind of like the deals and stuff like that? Like, what happens when Game Pass prices raise? You know, it's already $15 for Ultimate. What happens when it's $20 a month? Are people still as adamant to say, hey, this is such a good deal? You know, I think we're starting to see, you know, a little bit of that, and it'll probably level off a bit. And even at 10 million, paying the full $10 a month for the regular is only, you know, is not as much as you would probably think, and probably isn't making them a ton of profit at this time. So, you know, Sony might not be in a huge hurry to kind of cover that and do the exact same thing, especially when you look at the sales of stuff like for The Last of Us Part 2, which, you know, jump out there and sell 4 million plus copies in the first couple of days. That's a lot of money, right? I mean, that recoups your money super fast. You can start already doing, you know, what's happening. Whereas if a game's in Game Pass, it's not really a guaranteed thing for success if you think about it. And I know I might get a little bit of hate for this, but think about it, right? Like Gears of War 5, that game, that franchise used to be huge. It used to get millions in pre-orders. It used to sell 3-4 million. I think you know, you can look it up. Gears of War 3 on the Xbox 360, I think sold 3+ million copies on the launch few days, right? Gears of War 5 got 3 million players when they're basically giving it away, but then it quickly died within like the first 60 days. The game was already at the top 30 most played Xbox games, and for a franchise like that, it's really sad to see. And then when you saw it in the NPD, it landed at number 7, the lowest entry for Gears. So yeah, even Judgment did better than Gears of War 5. So again, it's not necessarily a given that just because the game's in Game Pass it's going to do well. You also, I believe that smaller games have the tendency to do well in Game Pass, but the larger games like Gears probably wouldn't. Now Halo could be a different story. Halo is huge, and you know, it's a maybe a little bit more recognized name. If Halo Infinite is good, you can see a lot of people, I'm sure they're going to tout the numbers and the quote-unquote players, but it'll be interesting to see how the numbers kind of work out there. But again, what's the main thing that would drive you to buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X? Well, you know, a lot of people would probably say backwards compatibility with the older generations too. Now, if we look at this patent that leaked for Sony, which I will link this in the description. So if you're new to my channel, any kind of news stories, I will link every single one of them in the description below. I'll source them all. If it's an opinion piece, I don't have to source an opinion piece because that's just my opinion. Okay, if it's a leak / rumor and I can link it, I will. If I can't, I'll let you know up front and always tell you to take it with a grain of salt because things are ever changing in the industry, and you know, sometimes that happens. But This new patent has surfaced, suggesting that PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3 games could be emulated via the cloud. This was first posted online before by a tweet and translated into English, at which point it reads, a large number of game titles across PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and various generations of game consoles can be stored and used via the cloud gaming library. These games can be run on a virtual machine that mimics the operating system associated with each game console. It also continues that accompanying image, and there's an image and everything, and it shows that the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 are emulated into the separate screens. So it's not clear how it would be achieved or whether it's something that's tied to PlayStation Now. It could be a virtualized operating system solution, and it could mean that not having to build backwards compatibility technology into new hardware, although it isn't really mentioned on the thing. Later, they suggest that users will be able to record and create mini games from their gameplay and share it with friends via the cloud. And it sounds though it could be associated with the new DualSense controller create button that Sony has several patents on that, scene tagging and stuff like that, which could allow players to record playable sections of a game and share them. So you have to take stuff like patents and stuff with a heavy grain of salt. Like I said, I can link this, but again, even though it's like, oh well, in the cloud, it could be a situation where it breaks it down and maybe lets you be able to download stuff and things like that. So it could be much more than just play through the cloud, because I know for a fact I would love, and here's the thing, because you might go, well, what's the difference between PS Now and that? Well, PS Now, you have to pay to rent or whatever, you know what I mean? You have to pay to be a member to access the games. This would, I assume, could potentially be where if you have a disc, you can put the disc in, or if you own the digital version, it'll let you do it automatically. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, what if you don't like cloud gaming? I agree. I don't like cloud gaming. So I'm hoping that they have something set up a little bit differently in this that allows for you to maybe download it or something along those lines. Because if they do have a way to emulate PS3, PS2, and PS1, first of all, I don't think it could be very hard to emulate PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games at this point. PlayStation 3, that could be a little bit funky simply for the fact that it's a cell processor and, you know, it's a little bit more difficult to kind of do things with. But at the end of the day, we could still see a situation where that could be the case. They could be holding back, and that could be a big announcement that they have backwards compatibility. Now, if you look at Microsoft's side, it sounds really good, right? Hey, we're backwards compatible. We've got, you know, Xbox 360, Xbox One. All these games are going to be backwards compatible. But then when you break it down, it's like 50 original Xbox games, 550 Xbox 360 games. That's not as many as you might think, especially, I mean, the original Xbox games, that's hardly any at all, to be honest with you. But the Xbox 360 stuff, when you think about it, there's literally thousands of games, and a lot of the games that they pick for backwards compatibility are like these low-level indies and stuff. And I know that there's, or smaller titles that, you know, I think a lot of us really would have preferred like some interesting stuff that, you know, we ended up not getting. But at the end of the day, there are quite a few pretty good titles on there. But again, I do think that people would have really much rather had, you know, a much more scope on the 360 stuff. Just my opinion. So I would love backwards compatibility with PS3. Unfortunately, cloud streaming kind of sucks and is not my thing. So I would hope that there would be possibly some kind of alternative down the line as well, just because I think that's what everybody would want and prefer it. Let's be honest. PlayStation Now, nobody even cared about that for a very long time until they started allowing people to download stuff right away. So yeah, again, it's very interesting to sort of see that happen and the way that it happens. And, you know, again, Microsoft is very smart with how they do things. I'm just going to be honest. They're very clever. You know, they name things a certain way to get people excited or whatever. And Sony, that's traditionally, you know, they might be very smart to do stuff like that. But now it seems like, you know, everybody's kind of catching on to that stuff. And it's just like, I really wish that they would come up with like better names for stuff and to be able to kind of come out and actually announce some things that, you know, maybe we haven't heard before, you know, like backwards compatibility with PS3. I think everybody would love that, and maybe not so much PS1 and PS2, as, you know, those games can look extremely dated. But, you know, it's going to be really interesting if they do have that card to play at a later date. Hey, we've got backwards compatibility, PS3, PS2, PS1. I can imagine people being excited for that. Again, how much are people actually going to utilize that? That kind of comes into question, because I know for a fact, like for me personally, if I'm buying a new console, I'm getting that new console for the new experiences for the most part, you know, not really to play a lot of the old games and the old experiences and stuff like that. But you know, it could be fun. We'll have to see what happens. I would love your guys' take and input on this. Do you guys want to see backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 with all the previous generations? Would that make you happy, or do you think it's just a waste of time? I would love your guys' thoughts on this. Hit me up on Twitter at @_Crapgamer, Xbox Live MOH Crapgamer, PSN just Crapgamer. And as always, I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you that took time out of your day to check out one of my videos. Rack 'em up, game on, stay safe, happy, and healthy. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.